All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third GEMS College of Energy Medicine anniversary event. Thank you all for being here in person, well, online, in person, and thank you to anyone who is watching later. I know we have several members who aren't able to be here today, and so looking forward to sharing with you all later. So today we thought we would just do a little bit of a balance to get started, something a little bit grounding, get all our chakras in alignment, and then we can do our chakra goal setting balance. Those of you who were here last year, we did a 5 element goal setting balance and people loved it. Just sharing our templates. If anyone does not have your template already either downloaded or printed, let me know. I can pop that back in the chat. It's available on the community resources page of our website. For anyone later who would like to download it, it'll still be there. And you can download templates for the chakra goal setting as well as for the 5 element goal setting from last year as well. So hopefully we'll get a chance to sort of work on this together today, maybe a chance to share a little bit. And then for those of you who are members, we will also be sharing together in a study hall session later in the week. So let's start with a little balance, shall we?
Okay, so just perspective timeline for today. What we are hoping to kind of do here is go through a quick little balance just to kind of get ourselves centered and realigned. And then we're going to take a look at each one of the chakras as we go, talking a little bit about what does that chakra do in our body? How does that energy manifest? And maybe what kind of goals would we have in relation to that? So again, those of you who were here with us last year, we did this with a 5 element template, and people gave us such good feedback that we thought we would do it in a different way this year, just to see how it feels. But it's kind of a fun way of setting up our energy that's a little different from the typical like business goal kind of things that we see for a new year. So,
That being said, we did set them up as business goals, and we'll be showing our example for the college.
yeah, that too. Yes. So, if you were to go on, Hannah was just mentioning that on the website there's the community resources tab. And one of the things that's on there is a little chakra basics PDF that you can download. And that was something that I put together a few years ago because it was becoming clear in some of the classes that I was teaching that some people don't have sort of a basics of each one of the chakras. Like, what does that energy actually kind of do that they can use easily in session? And so we threw together this little PDF that's available to everyone. And this is the little protocol that's on that PDF. So I mentioned that for the people who are new to our college, to our classes, this is a free resource that is there for you and anyone can download it. And so right at the beginning, the first step here has you using chakra mode to define that this is the kind of energy that you are monitoring for. So in the event that you aren't familiar with modes from other forms of muscle testing, or maybe you're new to muscle testing, modes are based on mudras from the Ayurvedic and yogic traditions. And it's basically because we have these energy flows that kind of come out through our fingers, and it's connected to meridians, connected to the different energy forces in our body. We don't have time to get into all of that right now. But when we hold our hands in certain ways, we are kind of accessing different kinds of energy flow. So chakra mode, at least in the modalities that I teach, different ones are out there, is to kind of take your index finger pad and put it over the nail of your thumb. And if you hold that and then check an indicator muscle, it can allow you to see, is there stress in the chakra system? So because we're just doing this as a little self-balance today, if you know how to easily muscle test yourself, you can go ahead and challenge that and see, like, is there stress in my chakra system? But if you're a human, there probably is. So you're going to have a little bit of stress somewhere in there. So if you don't feel like muscle monitoring it, you can simply, touch that, one hand, two hands, and just address, yeah, we're putting that stress into our circuit right now. And then you can check each chakra in turn. So we are going to be working with the 7 major chakras, the ones that you see in pictures where you have sort of the rainbow going up the body, and the root chakra. So kind of starting low over your midline, right? Down below the pubic bone. And if you're muscle monitoring, you can challenge, is there stress there or not? If you're not muscle monitoring, we're just going to kind of pause the chakra mode over each space and just kind of allow this intention of like any stress that is in this energy center, I would like to be able to address and look at now. So starting with the root and then kind of moving up to above the pubic bone, still low on the torso. So we're challenging sacral. We can bring it up around the navel and above the navel for the solar plexus chakra. We can bring it up into the chest for the heart, to the throat, to the brow, and to the crown. And again, if you are muscle monitoring, you might have an idea of somewhere where there's some energy blockage for you right now. If not, if that's okay, we can simply work with the system as a unit. So if you were to look at the protocol that's written here, it says to scan through the information about the chakras just to notice where the stress is. We're not going to do that right now. But again, as we are going through the various chakras today, you might have spots where it's like, oh yeah, that's something that's often stressful for me, or that's an area where I struggle. And so you can go back and you can use this same protocol to balance yourself to that later once you have more information. Instead, at this point, we're just going to correct. Now, here it says correct using any techniques at your disposal, understanding that people come into this from lots of different kinds of kinesiology or holistic health. Or we can just sort of take a moment and concentrate on your palm chakras. So we have minor chakras that are here in our palms, and this is where we feel a lot of energy when we do energy work. So take a second to kind of feel that. You can make an energy ball if you like that idea. And then you're going to place 2 fingers on governing vessel 24.5. This is the glabella. And for those of you who have done SIPS kinesiology classes, this is a center point for like bringing in universal energy, right? So we use this in a lot of kinesiology corrections. And then it says to place the other hand over the stressed chakra. And you can also muscle monitor for how far from the body. So any of those centers that we just concentrated on, you can pick one that feels intuitive to you. If you don't feel a connection to any of them, place a hand over the heart. It's the midpoint in our chakras. It has to do with our connections to ourselves and to others, the moving of energy from yin to yang and vice versa. And so it's a really good centering point if you don't know where else you might want to be. Right, we're just holding for a few seconds or until you feel a change. And then again, if we were doing this as a proper balance, you would now go and re-monitor any of the chakra centers that had felt stressed previously to make sure that they actually are feeling different now. Because one of the brilliant things about kinesiology is that we can show our work, right? We don't have to guess, did that work? We can check and see, has there been a change? So we're not going to take time to do that this morning because this is just a quick little centering warm up. But if you're using this protocol in real life, that's how we're going to use it. So now that we should hopefully feel a little more centered, let's start kind of going through some of these chakras. If you have questions or you feel like interjecting anything as we go ahead and do so. And we're also going to have time to chat at the end. So when we're looking at the root chakra, oh, and just as a note, this information that's on the first slide for each chakra, this is in that PDF. So again, if you're wanting to download this, you have all of this information at your disposal, okay? And you can use this in your sessions or for your self-balancing. When we talk about the root chakra for balancing, it's really about our ability to be rooted. This is our connection with the earth. It's the seat of unconscious energy. And this is also the seat of a lot of our survival protocols, right? So that's why, if you note here, it links it to the adrenal glands, because it's a lot about, are we able to deal with whatever threat might be in front of us at this moment in time? So if this is underactive, we tend to not have a lot of will. It's difficult for us to be like firmly grounded in the physical part of our body. So there's a few ideas for affirmations. Oop, let's mute people. There's a few ideas for affirmations here for things that we might want to say or bring into a balance if our root chakra feels wobbly, feels unsteady. I am grounded. I am full of life. I am courageous. Um, Hannah, did you want to add any of those other keywords here?
Yeah. Um, when we were talking about how do we use this not in a session, but as a goal setting sort of exercise, we were thinking what things are really related with each chakra. So we were looking at some things that are mentioned there around like grounding and security. But this is also where we see things like home, the house stuff, feeling at home, money showing up here, as well as the physical strength and musculature of the body, right? We've got that vitality. We need to start here.
Right. So when we were putting together our goals and intentions, this is part of our transparency as the college, as we are using our own goals and intentions for this year as examples, and also to kind of show you where we're at so that we're accountable for the things that we say we're going to do too. So yeah, you see here for the root chakra, that idea of like, what is the actual physical space, right? And the fact that we're running more retreats here in our new space, but also things like expanding the garden, that we're growing our own food, we're growing more medicinal plants, we're making more products because these are also ways of taking care of our own physical body, right? And our commitment to sustainability, like our literal roots in the ground. Um, and also, Hannah mentioned money. So if you've got financial goals, because that has to do with like, because finances are our major way of kind of providing security in our age, that's where we would usually slot them as well. So now that we have a little bit of an idea of what kind of goals might fit here under the root chakra, our intention was to take like 3 to 4 minutes for each one of these chakras as we go, so that you can actually fill out what your goals might be. So if that feels good for everybody, I will go ahead and turn on the timer. Oh,
So hopefully people were able to print out one of the templates or edit one digitally or, write in a notebook. That's fine too.
but if you use the templates, they come in pretty colors.
Yeah, I worked very hard on these.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a few minutes. I'm starting now. That's about 3 minutes. Does that feel like long enough, or do people need another moment? Okay. That tricky bit between enough time to actually write down something that matters and is meaningful, and not enough time that you get bored and wander off. So, if that feels good, we'll stick to that. If we need to come back to anything later, we can do that too. So, if we carry on here, the next one then would be the sacral chakra, right? And this is sometimes called the central chakra, depending on whose terminology you're looking at. So physically, this is linked to the reproductive system, but also things like the kidneys, the bladder, the intestinal system. And this is sometimes thought of as being related to sex and procreation. On a more energetic physiology level, it's about birthing things, right? Anything that is about creation comes through our sacral chakra. So this can be about actual reproduction, or this can be about the ability to conceive ideas and bring them into the world. So obviously really important when we're looking at things like goal setting, right? This is the seat of more feminine yin kind of energy, pleasure and enjoyment, our ability to connect with others. So there's a few different affirmations here around experiencing the moment, right? And being passionate and having ideas and creativity that can easily flow. And I want to add the other keywords.
Yeah, we thought it would be best with our goal setting to focus really on that idea of creativity and new things, right? Making new things. So any of the projects you've been meaning to start or something like that, as well as your passion, right? And bringing in then the yin energy that was mentioned before. So anything, if you happen to know more about yin yang kind of qualities, if you like organizing things that way, you can organize some of your yin ideas under here, as well as goals around romance might show up here, whereas your friendships and things might show up under heart.
Yeah. And for me, because this is more of the yin center, anything that's more like looking inward, we would tend to see more of that here. Whereas the things that are more about what we project outward, we're going to see more when we look at solar plexus chakra. So if we look here, for us as the college, we were talking a lot about like birthing new classes and workshops and presentations, right? All of these things that are kind of in process right now. I mean, one of these for me is literally about like fertility and birthing. So it really hits this button. And also just embracing the feminine aspects of our industry, which is something we've been talking about a lot in the last little while, like really supporting that fluidity. I don't know what my mouth just did there. Fluidity. I added an extra syllable. Um, Soft, feminine, intuitive kind of aspect to the work rather than it just being about, stacking as much information as we can or something like that. This is also about drawing closer. And so supporting our members and creating this kind of feeling of community and closeness and trust. So we'll go ahead, we'll take another couple minutes, start writing out your sacral chakra goals. So if we keep kind of moving along here, the solar plexus chakra is the next one as we move up, and this is the seat of the ego. So this is about who we think we are, right? And it's also about personal power and our right to take up space. Um, so we can think of this one a lot around being comfortable being ourselves in any kind of scenario. Physiologically, you'll notice connections with stomach, pancreas, liver, gallbladder, spleen. So it's like organs of digestion, right? And our ability to take in information and assimilate it and make sense out of it. And so if this is blocked, we tend to see it with those kind of digestive system disorders. When it's in balance, we see things like strength and confidence and clear will, and also a balance of power. So not like misusing our personal power like we might see in dominating or bullying kind of scenarios, but also not finding ourselves in places where we feel like a victim or we feel really vulnerable. It's like owning our power, right? This can be affected a lot by our early childhood programs about identity. So a few affirmation ideas, it's around I know who I am and I set clear boundaries and I stay in my personal power.
So when we're looking at that in the sense of setting our goals for this year, um, we're looking at specifically like the physical space around you and how you're setting that up. Um, Activity, this is our yang energy, right? So more outward sort of movement, more outward expression. And as it is also the seat of the ego, we're looking at how you express yourself. So in different scenarios, if there's a specific sort of situation that you would like to be shifting how you're expressing, but specifically in work and where we're looking at it for the college, we're looking at branding, right? How are you presenting yourself outwardly? And then we also, it's mentioned a couple times here, but really focusing on that idea of boundaries as well, as that's something that we end up talking a lot about in our line of work, is how do we set those very clearly in a way that is still allowing us to, move energy in the way that we would like to be.
Yeah. So when we were talking about this, then Hannah and I in the framework for the college, we're looking at the more active part. So when we talked about the sacral, we were saying we're drawing closer to support our members. And then when we look at the yang aspect of that, it's more about actively recruiting new members, right? Putting more information out there to bring other people in towards us and promoting classes and events. And especially focusing this year on promoting classes and events for other instructors. Yeah, so we often are talking about my classes, sometimes Hannah's classes, but what we want to talk about more in this next year is all of our classes, all of our workshops, all of our businesses, right? And get more and more of it out there. And also, though it's a scary thing to say out loud, offering a bit of a viable alternative to kinesiology associations, because we're seeing where it's not that people shouldn't be involved in other associations, but I'm starting to see where those gaps are, right? And making sure that people have options for all the support that they're actually looking for. So we can go ahead and figure out what our goals are with this kind of energy for 2025.
Also, if anyone is not an instructor member and would like your classes to be promoted by the GEMS College, let us know.
So if we now move on to the heart. Earlier, I said if you didn't have any clear direction, this is where you might want to focus your energy when we were doing our little balance. And our heart is about the ability to experience love and empathy for ourselves, for others, for the world. And so understanding that love is a healing force of the universe. When we look at the physicality of the heart chakra, we are talking about everything in this zone, right? So it is the physical, literal heart. It's also the lungs. There's also a link to the thymus when we look at the heart chakra, and therefore we're looking at the way that things like love and compassion and our love and compassion for ourselves can also influence our immune system and how resilient we are to threat. If our heart chakra is out of balance, we can see problems with both immunity and with like physical circulation and the heart itself. Um, this is about our manifestation of our higher self and also around nurturing. Okay? So the heart is sometimes thought of as a bit of a bridge. The lower three chakras are more physical in nature and more about how our physical body is metabolizing energy, whereas then the upper three chakras are more about how our energetic bodies are metabolizing energy, and the heart connects the two. So it's the link, right, between the more tangible and the more etheric aspects of the self. So when we look at the affirmations, I have nothing to give or receive but love. People who have done SIPS 4 are going to recognize that one. I forgive and accept myself. I am at peace.
So then today, some keywords we were looking at are specifically around that idea of community and relationships. So that's relationships with your friends and your family, not quite the same as the more romantic relationship we saw earlier. And also expanding that further into like philanthropy, and charity and anything you might be doing for the greater good. So you can sort of see that in stages of like my close friends, my greater community, and, more of humanity, if you have goals in any of those areas. And then I also really liked the idea of the bridge. I find that comes up in sessions for me a lot. So the idea of being able to balance like the physical and the spiritual, or the mental and the physical, or maybe just work-life balance, being able to kind of hold these two aspects together in a way that feels good for you. I will just also note these keywords were in that template um, file. So if you are looking for any of those later, uh, or if anyone who is listening later isn't seeing them, I'm putting them in the chat. They are available on the website as well.
Okay, so then in thinking about all of that, we were looking at especially the philanthropic role for the college and what do we want that to look like, and really doubling down on this idea of like scholarships for memberships and classes, right? Making sure that we are extending invitations to our community to people who might feel like they can't be involved otherwise, and trying to create more value and coherence as a group. So one of the ways that we do that is by connecting on our Discord server. I know not everybody who is, here today or who is watching this is part of that, but when you remember, we do have this sort of private server where we have a lot of chat, and just making sure that we are actually answering all of the questions and checking in on everyone and keeping that community strong is a big part of our goal for this next year. So let's go ahead and figure out our heart chakra goals. Is that enough time? I see people still writing. We'll carry on. Right. So if we look at the throat chakra, it's a lot about clear communication. So the throat chakra is about our ability to speak things into being, right? Which is about, can we create clear intentions and affirmations and goals? Can I say what I actually mean and believe that I will be heard, right? Those things are important. Physiologically, it's related to the thyroid and the parathyroid. So that has to do with things like metabolism, right? And heat. And when we're talking about heat and energy, that can be literal, like for a lot of you, not for some of us. So we've got a few people representing from the southern hemisphere here or us by the equator, but like for a lot of you, it's cold out there right now, right? Is your body responding appropriately to that? Do you have the energy that you need to actually get through your day? Like those are all thyroid things, and they're related to the throat chakra. We also see, because of the way that the thyroid and the parathyroid work with regulation of calcium, a lot of issues with bones can show up here, as well as with like electrolyte balance and maintenance. Because of where it is in the throat, this is also related to stress with the mouth, the vocal cords, the cervical spine. And so then we talk about not only the physiology of these areas, but also like creativity in word and song, right? Are we able to speak up? Are we able to sing out? Like, are we able to express our feelings and desires? Do we have an authentic voice? Um, so this allows us to also connect to our etheric template, right? And for our true self to kind of shine through. So when we look at these affirmations, I speak my truth, I communicate clearly, I am consciously creating my world.
So when we're looking at the throat chakra, this is again expression, but more of a authentic expression of yourself, less of the personal branding, what I'm putting out, you know, the, you know, the image that I'm presenting. This is much more about how do I actually want to express myself in a very true way. So we have expression and authenticity. And this is also about, it says speaking things into being, right? So that idea of manifestation, which I know it's sort of a buzzword, but if there are things that you're manifesting for yourself in this year, this might be a fun place to put them. And the idea of like speaking and writing, like words and communication, are very heavily represented here. So some of us are writers and are, writing books or writing classes or, something of that sort. Those kind of goals might go here, as well as how you're choosing to communicate with people around you.
So when we are looking at our goals for our organization, then we're talking about authentic communication through social media. And so there's like a game that we're playing with social media, right? A lot of us that are trying to do branding and stuff for our businesses, where it's like, yeah, you want to do the trendy thing and you want everything to look good when you are putting things out there. And also, it needs to be real, right? I don't want to blur my face until it has no pores and no wrinkles and I look perfect. I don't want to try to pretend or promise something that we're not. And so, like, yes, putting the information out into the world, but making sure that it's real and that it's true to the template. And so then we're talking also a lot in our organization here around things like short form video content, which for perfectionistic people can be hard to put out there because if I actually watch the things that I put out, it's like, oh, I stammered, I repeated myself, I don't look right here. What am I doing with my face? It's very difficult to actually put the content out if we start to second guess it. So this is something we're working on. And then also setting clear goals with defined outcomes and checkpoints. And we talked about that a lot, Hannah and I, we were putting this together because it's really easy to set goals like we're going to increase membership. We're going to put more content out. But if you don't actually put a number on it or something that allows you to be clear about like when will that have happened? Like how will you know that that's happened? It's very easy for everything to be amorphous. And so setting that clarity, we were talking a little bit about how when I'm doing this with clients a lot, I will ask, how will you know? Right? When people come in with a goal for something, it's I want a better relationship, or I want a better job. How will you know that you've gotten that? So that was what we were discussing with this. So let's go ahead and jump in. So if we move up, the brow chakra is sometimes called the third eye. It's related to the pineal gland. It has to do with physical vision, yeah, as well as our ability to take in sensory data clearly, but it's also thought of as the site of intuition and clairvoyance. So it's the ability to see more than meets the eye, to see ourselves clearly and to see more clearly what's actually happening around us. Um, it allows for things like clear thought, perception. It's the seat of wisdom and conscience. So when we are looking at this, if this space is in good balance, it allows us to connect better to our own crown and to universal energy, which we're going to kind of look at next. When it's out of balance, we see issues with a lot of the stuff that's here on the head, right? So yeah, the eyes, but also like the nose and the sinuses, the top of the spinal column. And also because of the way that the pineal and the pituitary are both sort of master glands for the endocrine system, controlling what happens at the level of other endocrine glands throughout the body. If we've got hormone issues, this is often where we want to be really kind of concentrating our efforts. So when we talk about things like the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axes or something like that, right? As a stress response. This is dealing with the top of that as opposed to just dealing with the adrenals, which we think of as more as the root chakra, which we talked about before. Okay? So if we look here at the affirmations, we mentioned things like, I see clearly, I listen to my own guidance, my intuition is trustworthy.
So here we have obviously intuition, which is also something that I think we talk about a lot in our community about people are always wanting to, how do I trust my intuition? Or how do I, build my intuition when I'm working in session or just for myself? So those kinds of goals might show up here, as well as the vision, right? And visionary. So those maybe longer term sort of big ideas that maybe you didn't write down on the more grounded kind of chakras, those could go here as well. And one of the words we have here is interviewing, right? So the ability to see clearly outwards, but also to see clearly inwards and focus. So I feel like we could also be adding between brow and crown, we can look at learning and what we're wanting to sort of learn and bring in over the next year.
So we were discussing goals around using our insight and intuition to determine future direction, like making sure that we are creating goals and plans and things that actually make sense, like intuitively and our best good, highest good, not losing sight of long-term goals and also being able to focus on projects in a timely manner and not get distracted by everything else that's going on. So let's go ahead and come up with some brow chakra goals. So the last one that we are going to look at today is the crown chakra. It's the last one of these energy centers that's connected to our physical body. And it's interesting because, being here at sort of the edge of our energy, it's connected to our lowest, most unconscious seat of energy, as well as to the universal energy. It can relate to the meaning of life, to the highest states of consciousness. Here we have opportunities to kind of connect with that like universal mind, universal energy, or the divine energy, or however you might want to put it. It can be related physiologically to the actual brain. So here we see things like integration of brain hemispheres, right? And are we able to function from both a logic and a gestalt lead function place at the same time? Do we have unity between our mind and our brain and within our nervous system? Or is there conflict happening in there somewhere? If this is in good balance, we feel a sense of unity within ourselves. If it's out of balance, we feel like we're disconnected from the universe, or we're disconnected from ourselves or from our purpose. Okay? Um, this doesn't usually open when people talk about the chakras being open. It doesn't really do that until the other six are in good shape and integrated. So you'll notice it says that when blocked, it can result in cerebral dysfunction. A lot of the things that we would think of as mental illness, if we look at from an energetic point of view, kind of fall into this category of an unbalanced crown chakra. That's not to say there isn't a physiological component there too. There obviously is. So there's physiology, there's biochemistry, but there's also this energetic aspect when we are working with people. If this is out of balance, it can also be difficult for us to stay grounded and stay really present in our physical body. So when we look at these affirmations, there's a lot here about unity, right? I'm united in myself. I'm united with the universe. I let go of attachments and anything that feels inappropriate for me at this time.
So this is where we got that connection to other energy, to other information. So again, if there were things that you're wanting to learn or really integrate, this might be a space that we can put some of those goals, as well as being receptive to energy and the ability to sort of define your energy. So being able to kind of hold your own aura and space for yourself as well as your space, your office or whatever that may be, your physical space. Less than the solar plexus is about the physical. This is more about the energy of the space and how are we holding that and really defining that so that we're very clear about what is me and what am I receiving and what am I giving off. And those things might be useful to have clarity on in our work and on our muscle testing and such.
So here we've just written this clear sense of self, what we are and what we are not, and connected to our highest good as a community. So one of the things that we see when we look at visualizations of the seventh layer or with the etheric chakra is this idea of the containment of the aura, as Hannah was just saying, right? And so it's energetic separation. I am this, I am not this. And so again, when we're looking at growing businesses and that sort of thing, it can be easy for us to start making promises or start wanting to be all things to all people or allow our boundaries to become fuzzy because it's like, well, I want to help or I want to do that or let's do that too. And for us to actually keep high integrity, we need to be clear, well, that's a not me thing, right? This is us, this is not us. And so, as we are going through these other goals around bringing in more people and being able to broadcast more and that sort of thing, it's also very clear that we keep it contained. So, we'll just take this last couple minutes to write down any ideas, intentions, goals for our crown chakra. Okay. So hopefully you now have a page, you might have a page filled with scrolly writing like I do, or maybe you just have a couple clearer things to find for each one of these spaces. But hopefully you at least have some ideas about how you're going to want to move forward with these intentions for this next year. I personally just found that very interesting because Hannah and I had sat down and figured out all of the ones for the school. And so a lot of my work goals and intentions went into that, which forced me to actually be really personal with these instead of filling it all out with all the things I'm going to do for work, which would be what I would usually do. Um, and so forcing me to be a little bit more uncomfortable with how I actually set those intentions, which is good. So, Hannah, did you want to say a couple words about how we are following up from here?
Yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, for those of you who are members or would like to become members over the weekend, you can email us about that. Um, we will be having our regular study hall sort of meeting on Monday evening. And during that time, we do intend on maybe sharing a little bit more with each other within our little community about what we've written down, especially for those of our members who were not able to do this event today. We really want the chance to sort of share with them. So we will have that for those people. This video will go up for people who want to watch it later. Thank you all for being here and for allowing us to do that and sharing this experience with us. And if you would like to share your experience, your goals, your little templates, if you want to do a pretty version to post, that's fine too. I don't care. Um, Please feel free to post them, tag us, and we would love to share everyone's lovely work and experience.
So I'm going to turn off the recording, but you don't have to log off immediately. We can stay and chat for a moment, but just so that this stays for anybody who's catching up with the recording later.